Hi everybody, this is gonna be my first lore video here on this version of the channel. This lore video is not gonna be a semi-coherent rant, don't worry, there will be plenty of those around, but let me know what you think, if you want it more data heavy or if there are any other details that captures your fancy. Enjoy! My name is Elias Thorne, and this is both my admission of guilt and my witness statement of the fall of our hive. I am no soldier or tribal ash warrior, but merely a third-ranking clerk of the local administratum branch. And I know that our new masters will have no use of me. If anyone can hear me, it all started with the silence of our astropaths, and then a planetary broadcast. Iron within, iron without. Among the original 20 Space Marine legions created by the Emperor of Mankind, the 4th Legion was created to be a pillar of the Great Crusade. While most legions would always seek glory, this was a legion of consummate professionals, and even before the discovery of Perturabo, the 4th was specialist in siege, attrition, and had a focus on the use of heavy weaponry and bombardment. The Legion would often use older patterns of power armor, especially the Mark III and the Mark IV, for their reliance, their relative modularity, and the prioritizing of dependable gear rather than the fanciest. When it comes to weaponry, you would be hard-pressed to find another legion which would favor heavier weapons than the 4th. Their reliance on heavy bolters, crack missiles, las cannons, and power weapons such as hammers and maulers for breaking their lines of fortifications are unmatched by anybody. With the introduction of Perturabo, very little of their strategies would actually change. Rather, coldness and a calculated nature would be enforced, and they would become punitive internally, encouraging decimations upon failure or executions of individuals for not performing up to their Primarch's Skytall standards. The planetary defense augurs lit up, and their ancient machine spirits made ready to show the enemies of humanity their wrath. But Malign's grab code made them screaming despair as drop pods would fall from the sky. Nothing automated would work or come online to keep them from establishing their foothold. By the 4th hour, the sky turned the color of old brass as the bombardment began. Precise, economical, the way a chirurgeon opens up a vein. To overwhelm us with firepower and turn the hive to glass would have been wasteful. Instead, they left us crippled by disabling the polar defense silos, and lastly destroying our hive's void shields. I watched the very first shield collapse from the observation deck of Spire 19. A single searing beam punched through the aurora of energy, and the night became day for a full 3 seconds, leaving many blind. The first ground assault came at dawn, not the vile invasions of mad chaos worshippers, but the Iron Warriors landed in geometrical patterns, and from each drop emerged the veterans of the Long War, never ceasing movement, but already starting to make their battle lines. They were not aiming for grand heroic assault, or the breach you would see in the Imperial propaganda picts. They simply started digging and bombarding. Under the leadership of Perturabo, the Iron Warriors became one of the Crusade's best weapons, being a tool for grinding the worst and hardest campaign into dust under disciplined fire and warfare. While other legions might see this as an honor, to be thrown against the absolute worst the galaxy would have to offer, a bitterness would grow in the Legion and their Primarch, as they were never given the true chance for glory or accolades. They were instead relied upon to do what the other legions couldn't or would not, such as the Gehenna Massacre, the Thrall System War, or the Hrot campaign. One of the many battles that would scar Perturabo and his legion was this very campaign against the Hrot. A migratory Xenos rage with terrifying technology that warped entropy, effectively making weaponry that would age their targets to dust, age the victims from within, shunt them into a fraction of a second along their own timelines, effectively fusing them with their surroundings, and entropic blades dissolving armor, causing bodies to explode, age backwards, or even reject gene seed implants. This campaign would take an entire year and would culminate when the Iron Warriors managed to inflict billions of casualties upon the Xenos by deploying experimental stasis field tech, forcing the Xenos to attempt an escape. The Horot, sensing how close they were to being wiped out by Perturabo and his legion, would trigger a colossal temporal shockwave that would kill over 30,000 Iron Warriors, more than 20% of the Legion's total strength. It is my personal take that the reason why the Emperor would never praise Perturabo for any of his hard work is because it is simply what the Lord of Iron was capable of and made to do. I mean, would you praise the hammer for being able to hammer in nails? However, the Emperor would completely forget that Perturabo was also a man that viewed the Emperor as his father and wished for his approval. This has led the Iron Warriors down a long road of bitterness and resentment. I hid in a collapsed hat block, watching from a shadowed window. Their armor was the color of old rust and hate, marked with hazard stripes and iron skulls. One paused near my hiding spot, scanning with his helm's red islands, and then moved on, uninterested in a single terrified soul. They didn't loot, they didn't revel, they simply demolished. The Iron Warriors became traitors, not due to any corruption of the Dark Gods, but because of the Emperor's mistreatment, Perturabo's bitterness, and fake promises of a better tomorrow by the arch-traitor Horus. In the service of Horus, Perturabo effectively became his new war master, and here the Iron Warriors truly showed the galaxy what they were capable of. Their logistic networks rivaled that of Roboute Guilliman, Mr. Excel Sheet himself. They burned worlds at the speed and ferocity of space wolves, and they paved the way for Horus despite every ally around them slowly devolving into madmen fanatics or puppets of chaos. In one of the many books of the Horus Heresy, there is a scene where it is described that Perturabo has hooked himself up to several command coadjutors, where he is commanding several planetary campaigns and space battles simultaneously, all while carrying the current conversation. Even the gods tempted Perturabo with their gifts, but he rejected every single one of them, because he is as iron, unbending and yet unbroken. And yes, I am rejecting the very idea of him ever becoming a demon Primarch. The final battle for Holy Terra can be said to be a duel by siege warfare between Rogal Dorn, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists, and the Lord of Iron, but none can deny that even while the defenses were formidable and held longer than what should be possible, 13 holes were punched in the Imperial Palace, all due to the command of Perturabo. And yet, he felt no accomplishment. He realized that Horus had used him just like the Emperor did, to take on the task that no other Primarch or Legion could do, and due to this, he left before the final battle could take place at Eternity Gate. I mean, just imagine what would have happened if the Lord of Iron would have stayed and seen everything through. We will fight. The Emperor expects no less of us, but what are we to do? I've read the sealed scrolls. I know how the story ends. In blood and iron. Thank you so much for listening. What did you think of this more narrative style? Or do you want to see something else? Do you need more data? Am I just really bad at voice acting? I would really like to improve, so please tell me. And consider liking and subscribing if you will. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.